Today on the report, we've got Haitian gang jailbreaks and prime ministers fleeing to Puerto Rico.
Plus, the FBI conducts a massive raid on a federal women's prison in California.
And the U.S. government slaps sanctions on a Greek spyware vendor for targeting American officials. It's all coming up on The Report.
I'm Kemdi Wosu.
I'm Justin Rosette.
I'm Noah Sakatis. Thanks to all of you for tuning in to The Report. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, aka X, at The Report CSUF, and on our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch with us and get our latest content.
On Sunday, March 3rd, 72-hour state of emergency and curfew was declared in Port-au-Prince. Several gangs were able to successfully carry out 2 armed jailbreaks, which left 12 dead, and in the process, more than 4,700 prisoners able to escape. As of now, gangs are exerting de facto authority over 80% of the capital. Many of the gangs have created an alliance to fight off officer advancements. One such notorious gang leader is former officer Jimmy Cherizer, aka Barbecue, who serves as the leader of an alliance of gangs called G9. Barbecue has demanded that Prime Minister Ariel Henry resign. It seems as though many civilians share the same sentiment, with multiple protesters calling for Henry's resignation. In the wake of this, Prime Minister has fled to Puerto Rico and, per confirmation from Haiti's president and a U.S. official, will resign to make way for transitional authority. Areas such as the U.S. Embassy and International Airport are surrounded by rival gang territories. The civil unrest is creating further strain on Haiti's already fragile economy, creating a shortage of water and food. Many criticize and blame the government for the current state of Haiti. The UN Security Council is said to have held a private meeting regarding the issue. So what do you guys think about all this? It's a crazy situation. First question we always have to ask as Americans, does the US get involved?
Well, first off, let's just say that Haiti cannot get a break. I mean, we covered this story about 2 weeks ago with the whole prime minister-president fiasco. Mm-hmm. I believe that the U.S. should get involved, absolutely, but what has to be done is a very quick involvement where there's some kind of maybe slight military event to get rid of the gangs in the capital and then to instill like a preliminary government and then allow the United Nations to come in and take care of it. Something where we get involved as quickly as possible and then get out as quick as we can and allow the Haitian people to figure it out on their own, because we've seen the long-term effects of a U.S. government on a country, for example, the Iraq state, and how horrible that went. So this needs to be handled really carefully, if at all.
Yeah, I think the U.S. has already somewhat been involved. It says since 2023, they've donated over $146 million to Haiti, trying to help people. And also, the U.S. has recently sent an anti-terrorism team to Port-au-Prince in order to protect the U.S. Embassy. So I think maybe, like you said, something quick, something to just get out of there. And I think overall, it's just comes down to Haiti having to get a leader in there that can take charge of things. And so I think if the U.S. were to step in momentarily and try to get things in order, but then Haiti has to have someone, since the prime minister resigned, they have to have somebody to come in, take order, and try to get the country back to where it was.
Yeah, goal is just, overall, they got to have a strong exit strategy, and they've got to have someone who actually is dedicated to leading the people out of this terrible situation.
Absolutely, so. I agree. Well, the U.S. government has announced a first-of-its-kind sanctions package against the Greek-based spyware program Intellexa and its leadership after the company was discovered to have taken involvement in targeting U.S. government officials. The Treasury Department targeted 2 individuals and 5 entities associated with the Intellexa consortium for their role in, quote, developing, operating, and distributing commercial spyware technology, end quote, which the U.S. government says was used against journalists, dissidents, policy experts, and U.S. officials. The sanctions effectively freeze U.S. assets of those targeted and generally bar Americans from dealing with the Greek vendor. Those who engage in certain transactions also risk being hit with sanctions, as the company has already been subject to trade restrictions under measures imposed by the Commerce Department in July 2023. Intellexa, a well-known cyber intelligence company, has received media attention in recent years after its software platform known as Predator, which enables mobile phone and internet surveillance, was allegedly captured on the devices of victims in the Middle East, Europe, Africa, and the U.S. According to analysts, Intellexa owns, invests, and also partners with other spyware firms under a consortium model. In addition to being an individual company, Treasury Department officials described in a statement, quote, Once a device is infected by the predator spyware, the spyware can be leveraged for a variety of information stealing and surveillance capabilities. This includes the unauthorized extraction of data, geolocation tracking, and access to a variety of applications and personal information on the compromised device, end quote. The announcement presents the first time that the government has ever sanctioned a commercial spyware entity. Ty Dillian, founder of Intellexa, who is among those targeted by the sanctions, did not respond to a request for a comment. What can we say certainly about cyber intelligence companies and spyware based on the story alone and what's going on?
I mean, the whole thing is just crazy. For one, I'm not really that adept at like knowing, like I don't have like a bank of knowledge when it comes to spyware and stuff like that. But I just know the whole thing's seems a bit like icky to me. It's the best word I could use to describe it. But
Yeah, I think it's kind of scary, and I think this is a big deal as this is the first time that sanctions have been placed on things like this in the U.S. It's also kind of scary thinking that journalists and other U.S. officials have been having spyware kind of things used against them, and also it says that Intellexa works with other companies as well, so we really don't know where all this information is going. But I think it's a good thing that the U.S. is sanctioning it and trying to get rid of all the possible spyware and things that could be used against them. So
clearly, data mining can come from any country. It doesn't have to come from one of our enemies. It doesn't have to come from Iran, Russia, or China. But these are certainly tools that our enemies can use to spy on us. Certainly, do you guys have any concerns there?
I mean, I feel like the cloud in general just kind of concerns me. Just like all of our information kind of just being uploaded to a cloud that we don't really know. I mean, the cloud, that's just like a name someone came up with. Like it's just in some warehouse where just like a bunch of just like different data servers are. And that can be just like hacked at any time by like anyone if they have like the right technology and the right like intelligence to know. So
those raise some concerns.
Yeah.
in recent news, the FBI raided Dublin, a California federal women's prison that has been plagued by sexual abuse. The prison had a reputation for sexually abusing the inmates, and these actions are finally seeing due consequence. The FBI launched an investigation into Dublin's practices in 2021. Since then, 8 FCI employees have been charged with sexual abuse, with Warden Art Dogoff and 3 other top managers being removed from their positions. It seems conditions were escalating in the prison, with retaliatory punishments being placed on the inmates who were testifying against prison staff. One of the inmates, Rhonda Fleming, who was said to testify about the culture at FCI Dublin, was allegedly thrown into solitary confinement against a judge's orders for her involvement in the case. But how did it get to this point? Attorney David Ring explained that the lack of accountability could snowball into retaliation against victims who speak up, and stated, quote, "Officers in prisons can be the worst because they are so jaded that all the complaints fall on deaf ears about the guards," end quote. So far, more than 63 inmates have come forward with allegations, and it's likely that more will continue to come forward as trust is being built between the investigators and the inmates. During the raid, FBI agents were seen taking multiple hard drives, documents, and computers. The FBI did not comment on the matter and did not explicitly state the reason for the raid, but did confirm that a new interim warden was appointed to the prison. Now, this is a very saddening story here. I guess my first question is to you guys, what is your overall reaction, and also are you guys surprised by this story?
It's very surprising, to be honest. I do wonder if it has something, because I know this was a minimum security prison, so people that they don't do like the most like heinous of crimes. So I wonder if like that's the reason like they're being taken advantage of, because like they aren't like as intense, or like they're not doing capital punishment type crimes. So like most guards wouldn't like mess with those people. But I guess like the minimum security, like lower stuff like tax evasion, stuff like that. I guess they're like, I don't know. It just like it really frustrates me that like this is happening, especially like during International Women's Month. So,
well, my concern is like, what are these people that are working in the prison systems as guards? What are they building up to? Like, what is their resume that they're being built up to? What is their purpose for working in these prisons? I've always pondered that myself. Like, are you working up to become a police officer? Like, what is the purpose of what you're trying to do? And we've seen in the past from abuses of authority and the tests that colleges have done, for example, the Stanford Prison Experiment, where we've seen just giving students total authority to run a prison, and how that can easily and very quickly get out of control when you are given total authority to control your prisoners as much as possible. And I think this is a clear example of that.
Yeah, this is a very saddening story for me. I think what was really shocking to me is that the warden of the prison was also involved in the different sexual assaults happening. And as an inmate, you're already in there for whatever crime you have committed. It's already a bad space to be in. And the warden, a person you're supposed to be able to trust to at least run the prison correctly, is also involved in these things. And I think for a lot of these female residents, I saw reports that this has been going on for years or possibly even decades at Dublin. And it's just really frustrating because they already kind of have less of a voice as being inmates. And, because people can chalk it up to they're already in jail, they're just, making things up. And so it's just very frustrating because they already have less of a voice and they're being taken advantage of in their like cells and being forced to do things with cellmates. And it's just a very bad story in this situation. So the second question I had was, why is this taking so long to come to light? Do you guys think it's because of their reluctance to believe inmates?
Yeah, and also I think it has to. I remember at some point, I think you mentioned in the story that like they were getting punished for basically speaking out. So I'm assuming they see one example of someone being punished and they're like, oh, I don't want that to happen to me, so I'll just stay quiet. And if I stay quiet, maybe I won't I'll be treated like somewhat slightly better for keeping quiet about this kind of stuff. So
there was also some concerns raised about the hesitancy, or not the hesitancy, but how long it took for the FBI to kind of crack down on this prison, even though they had been building a case for this abuse since, I think it was 2011. And there was questions as to why it took the FBI so long. You have to understand the FBI, when they're taking in an investigative case of this magnitude, it can take them more than a decade. I mean, we're even seeing, for example, the September 11th attacks in 2001, the FBI has not even concluded their formal indictment of some of the criminals involved. There is still, I believe in 2023 in fall, the Reddit they sent in a Freedom of Information Act for all documents and footage to the FBI, which they rejected because they had an active case still going on. So this is no surprise that even since 2011, there was a case going on for this prison and it took them this long to act.
Yeah, I just hope that they are able, now that it's coming out, they are able to fix this and that the people in that prison are able to feel safe since they do have a new warden coming in. So hopefully that can be fixed.
And hopefully, I know the FBI didn't comment on the situation, but hopefully they'll have something to share in the coming months.
Hopefully, yeah. They have been in the past with cases a bit discreet, but hopefully with a case with as much high profile as what we're seeing right now, maybe they will come out with a statement and kind of put all of our worries at bay.
Yeah.
And that's all we have time for today.
Thanks again to everyone who tuned in.
Be sure to keep tuning in for the latest world news and differing views. We look forward to seeing you all next time on The Report.